We rely so much on the farming industry to grow and harvest the food that we all need. Huge amounts of investment are put into developing new tools and machines to make the process as efficient as possible. From huge harvesters to entirely new techniques and processes, it's time to begin today's video on 15 incredible agricultural machines. Number 15. DeWolf GBC-1. The DeWolf Group has been responsible for designing and developing countless large machines for use on farms that have dramatically reduced the amount of time it takes to perform tasks at every stage of growing crops. But one of the most impressive are their top-lifting harvesters. A number of popular vegetables grow beneath the ground, and it used to be an enormous task to pull each one out individually by hand. But a machine like the GBC-1 makes this laborious job a thing of the past. Pulled behind a tractor, it digs into the ground around crops such as carrots and loosens them from the surrounding soil. They're then guided towards a conveyor belt in a seamless motion and are picked up and lifted onto the machine. Each carrot is held in a uniform way, and this then allows the machine to automatically remove the heads with cutters and deposit the usable part of the carrot in the hopper. From here, they're ready to be washed and packaged, and they can arrive on shelves in your local store within just a matter of hours from when they were first taken from the ground. A process like this allows farmers to clear entire fields in just a few hours, and they're available to consumers faster and fresher than ever before. Number 14. Lavender Harvester. Closely related to mint, lavender is a beautiful purple flower that, as well as being a popular choice to be grown in ornamental gardens, is also grown on vast commercial scale to satisfy the demand for its use as a culinary herb or for the extraction of essential oils. Lavender flavoring is common in beauty, healthcare, and alternative remedy industries, but traditionally all of it would have been hand-harvested. Mandara Agro, however, has developed an automated lavender harvesting machine that's towed behind a tractor and allows for farmers to empty entire fields in a day, something that previously could have taken many weeks to accomplish. Inside the harvester is a rotary mower, similar to the type you'd use for grass, but this one has 8 cutter heads. Sensors monitor the lavender in the field and its average height, which allow for the automatic adjustment of the cutter heads to ensure the useful parts of the plant are taken, while preserving as much of the stem as possible so it can grow again the following year. The machine has 2 rotary collectors that deposit the harvested lavender into the storage bin towards the rear, and once it's full, an unloading elevator will transfer it to a transport vehicle if in the field, or onto the ground if you're putting it directly into storage. Number 13. Olive Harvester. Olives and other similar crops like grapes and berries grow on vines and bushes, and in a similar way to fruits that grow on trees, are quite tricky to harvest because the valued produce doesn't grow in neat and even lines. It's not simply a case of chopping the vines or bushes down, because they're needed to grow the crops for the following years, so a far more delicate approach is needed. Of course, this would normally have been completely done by hand, but there are also specialized harvesting machines that can do the job in a fraction of the time. Olive harvesters are built with a tunnel that passes through the center, and this allows them to drive along the olive groves, with the trees and the bushes passing through. As it goes, it shakes the trees, and this causes the produce to fall onto the specialized catcher plates that are made from nylon to be extra gentle on the trees themselves and the produce that they catch. The inclusion of hydraulic fans means that once the olives are caught, they are then quickly separated from any debris that they've mixed with, and by the time the farmer is finished driving through the groves, all that's left is a storage bin full of the end product. Number 12. The Vogel Baler. Once the grass in a field has been mown, the best use of it is to turn it into bales, but with such vast quantities, this can take an extremely long time. Large balers are available, but in 2019, a company called Vogel released footage of its brand new design, which easily is the biggest baling machine in the world. Designed by TJ Steele after becoming frustrated that he couldn't find a machine that would perform the task he needed it to, and subsequently built by the manufacturer, it's able to collect the material and make the bales that measure 9 feet by 9 feet, or 2.7 by 2.7 meters, and each one weighs 5,600 pounds, or over 2,500 kilos. So far, all that's been built is a rather clunky prototype, but this ability to make bales of this size is extremely useful on large farms. The team behind the designs have, however, gone back to the drawing board to create improvements and adaptations, such as one that will allow the bales to roll out of the machine more smoothly. And once this is done, they'll hope there'll be enough demand that they can put the machine into production for customers around the world. Number 11. Stick Rakes. Huge amounts of material and debris quite often need to be moved on farms to help clear fields for a new crop to be planted or for new structures to be built. And one of the best ways to do this is with a rake, just like you would in your backyard but on a much larger scale. Designed to be highly durable and normally made from alloyed steel, stick rakes are made just not to be able to push a load to where you need it to be, but to be able to gather it and even lift it so you don't cause any unnecessary damage to the field. They also have features like forward-angled guards to ensure no material or debris hits the front of the cab, and they're made in a way that means they're easy to attach and detach, and customizable with added extras like folding wings to make them simpler to transport. Rather than having a team of workers with shovels trying to clear a region of land, a stick rake like this will make light work of virtually anything that's in the way. So, if you visit a large working farm anywhere in the world, it's quite likely they'll have one of these on hand for when they need it. Number 10. In-row weeder. Whether you own a small plot of land or a 100-acre field, there's one thing you'll inevitably face when growing crops: weeds. No matter how many chemicals can be sprayed, there's always some that will be able to thrive, and they can be problematic in farming because they take the nutrients meant for the actual crop and could get caught up in the produce when it's time to harvest. In your own garden, you'd simply go around and remove the weeds by hand, but that's not feasible on a much larger scale. The machinery required to do this is surprisingly complicated though, because the last thing a farmer wants to do is risk removing the plants that they want growing in their field. One solution is an in-row weeder, which can be used for crops like lettuce and cabbage, where the plants are growing at regular spacing, and the foliage of each individual is clearly separated from the next. As they're driven over the field, the system, which can adjust widths as needed, churns up the soil and monitors everything with sophisticated cameras and computers. They identify the plants that are meant to be there and avoid them, but anything that's growing where it shouldn't is quickly lifted out of the soil and deposited in the hopper, which will then be emptied and disposed of. The use of a machine like this gives complete control over weed growth and can even be used instead of herbicides to produce chemical-free salads and vegetables. Yummy. Number 9. Apple harvester. Apples are the most popular fruit of all, with around 5 million tons produced in the US alone each year. That's of course a huge amount of produce to harvest when it's ready, and rather than sending millions of people into the fields to pick them from the trees, there's a range of machines that are able to do almost all of the work. When they're ripe, apples will normally simply fall from the trees, or at least be very loose. So with a system like this, the first step is to travel through the orchard with a machine that'll gently shake the trees, so all of the apples are on the ground. The next step is to pass by with an apple harvester, which has several rollers that extend out from the front, and they use rubber lamellas to gently guide the fruit towards the center. Here it's picked up into the collecting vessel and is then carefully cleaned to remove any contamination. Amazingly, machines like these are able to pick between 1 and 8 tons of apples per hour, and because of the simplicity in the design, they're able to effectively pick them up no matter if the grass is mulched, covered in leaves, or extremely wet. It's compatible with other fruits too, such as pears, and even some nuts like walnuts, which make it an essential machine for any fruit-producing farm. Number 8. Industrial lawnmower. Built by expert agricultural specialists, Claas, the Cougar is the world's largest self-propelled mower, and it's incredible to watch this thing in action. With a cutting width that's up to 46 feet or 14 meters wide when it's fully extended, it carries 5 pendulum mowing units on top of telescoping booms that can be raised or lowered as needed. This means that while it's ideal for mowing huge fields of grass, it can also be used on smaller, narrower fields that only require 3 or 4 mowers. And this flexibility means it's the only mower a farmer with a huge amount of land will ever need. Amazingly, the Cougar is able to operate at speeds of up to 13 miles or 21 kilometers per hour and can cover an area of 54 acres in an hour. Its size, of course, means that it isn't wildly practical for transport between fields, and Claas had to come up with some novel solutions for this. When it's traveling on roads, the Cougar lifts and folds the mowing heads, but the cab then rotates 180 degrees, so the mowers are held at the front and back instead of on the sides. This then gives the mower the overall width needed to be road legal. Number 7. Case IH Steiger Quad-Track 620 Tractor. The Case IH Steiger Quad-Track 620 tractor is easily one of the largest, most powerful, and most fuel-efficient tractors available. It's 25 feet or 7.6 meters long and 13 feet or almost 4 meters tall, and it's fitted with a 12.9-liter engine, which with its two-stage turbocharging is able to generate up to 680 horsepower. It's available in various configurations with the option of having it on 4 wheels or Their udders are brushed and cleaned before lasers are used to measure their exact position, so the milk pumps can be attached as gently as possible before activating. Not only do machines like this reduce the number of staff that needs to be present, but they actually increase the yield of milk that's produced by as much as 12%. The cows are smart enough to join queues when they're the shortest, and by being milked more often, they are much healthier and happier too. Number 4. Ropa Tiger 6. Sugar beets are an important crop around the world because it's a cheap and relatively easy to grow alternative to sugar cane. It does, however, grow in the ground, so some heavy machinery is needed to lift it out in a time-efficient way. The Ropa Tiger 6 is currently one of the largest sugar beet harvesting machines of all. Powered by a 768 horsepower engine, sensors allow the operator to see exactly the optimum place to lower the cutting heads with the hydraulic arms, and helps them keep in a perfect line to take as many beets on each pass as possible. The lifting unit itself has counter-rotating oscillating shears and 7 lifting rollers. They're designed in such a way to keep perfectly balanced on the wheels, and this helps avoid compressing the ground as the vehicle moves over, something that's important to ensure a successful crop the following year. According to the company, the Tiger 6 is able to harvest twice the volume of sugar beets per hour as the nearest competitor, and combined with the features put in place to maintain soil quality too, it has a major effect on the efficiency of a farm. Number 3. Rocket Vacuum. Vacuum cleaners have long been used around homes to remove dirt from carpets, and it's perhaps no surprise that a similar technique is now being increasingly used on farms too. There are 2 ways that a Hoover vehicle may be needed, either as a harvesting tool or to clear up after the harvest has already been done. Most machines that take crops from fields will leave a huge amount of debris behind, such as leaves, stalks, and branches. And a machine like this is very useful, particularly on intensive fields that are under cover, to clear everything up so the ground is ready to be used again. There's a further step that can be taken too, and instead of being used to clean up a mess, a cutter head can be positioned just beneath the nozzle, and then the machine is turned into a different beast entirely. It can be used with crops like rocket or other salad greens, and as it's driven along the field, the cutter removes the leaves that are wanted, and the vacuum gently sucks up the leaves through the nozzle and deposits them in a bin where they're ready to be cleaned and packaged. Designed to be in constant use, when the bin is almost full, it can be tipped onto a support truck, and the vacuum doesn't even have to be switched off. Number 2. Wilson Super Move. One of the last jobs that farmers do in the summer is collecting the leftover grass and turning it into bales that will be used to provide food to livestock over the winter. You'll often see these bales lying out across the fields, but once they're wrapped, they can be extremely heavy and tricky to move. To overcome this, Wilson Engineering has developed a new type of wagon called the Super Move. Essentially, it's designed to pick up and collect multiple bales behind a tractor and allow the farmer to move them all at once to where they're needed. With the smallest design that can hold 6 bales, the company says it's possible to transport 350 bales every day, and with the larger models, the benefits keep increasing. The largest can hold 16 bales at a time, which is almost 1,000 to be moved in a day, and come fitted with hydraulic brakes and lighting to allow farmers to work in almost any condition. According to the company, the use of a super mover like this reduces your reliance on other vehicles and saves up to 60% of the moving time and reduces damage to the bales and the lining by as much as 90%. Number 1. John Deere X9 1100 Combine Harvester. At a price of about $1 million, the John Deere X9 1100 Combine Harvester is an enormous machine that promises to make light work of crops, while at the same time doing everything it can to maximize your yield. Featuring a 50-foot or 15.2-meter super-wide cutter head, it has an incredible throughput of 100 tons per hour. It's powered by a John Deere PowerTech 13.6-liter engine, which generates over 600 horsepower. And the 330-gallon or 1,200-liter fuel capacity means it can operate for 14 hours before needing to be refilled. The grain tank can hold up to 460 bushels or 16,000 liters, and it's able to unload the product at a speed of 5 bushels or 186 liters per second. The X9 series has a number of features to improve efficiency, such as hinge draper headers that ensure every grain is caught, an 8-wing chevron feed accelerator that reduces the friction as the grain passes through, and a gentle thresher and separator to ensure there's no damage to the grain. It also has this huge cleaning shoe with 4 high-performance turbine fans to make sure that all unwanted particles are removed. Because of all of this, the company claims that less than 1% of the kernels are broken during the process, which results in a far greater yield of product than is possible with most other combines.
Watch our Machines playlist for more top 15 videos about awesome machines. Sit back, relax, and binge watch all of our best machine videos.